For more on this story, we can cross live now to Washington to speak with Lisann, who's a legal analyst and former US federal prosecutor. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on France 24. Now, this is a pretty extraordinary twist in Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 US presidential election. Does it, in your opinion, herald a new phase of that investigation?
I think so. I think we're going into what could be perhaps called the end game, although there's no indication that it will end anytime soon because there's still a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of legal proceedings that need to be played out, a report that needs to be released, and at the same time the president is fighting this tooth and nail. We've already talked on this program about how he's installed a loyalist, otherwise unqualified, to head up the investigation, at least nominally, but with very real powers, and he has some allies in the Senate that are still willing to back him up. But that having been said, this is a period of increasing peril almost daily, and one can sense in Washington, I think especially since the results of the midterm elections, that there really is an existential threat to this presidency.
Now, could this latest admission simply be an attempt by Cohen, as Trump indeed is claiming, to lessen his punishment for breaking campaign finance rules?
No, that doesn't really make any sense because it's a statement against Cohen's own interest, and it seems to be corroborated by more evidence which will come out shortly, and it makes the most sense in terms of everything that we've seen. If you recall that during the time that Trump was advocating most forcefully on behalf of Russia and pushing forward in the official Republican Party platform new pro-Russia policies, he was actively negotiating for a major project, the Trump Tower project. Not just any deal. This would have been a major deal in Moscow. It could not have happened without the approval of Putin. And at the same time that Trump was doing these negotiations, he was lying about it, saying he didn't make any attempts to have commercial activities in Russia. But in fact, his personal lawyer and Trump's spokesman were in direct contact. These are very high-level contacts. So we see peril all around for the president, and even his children have been implicated in Cohen's statement. I think we're going to see in the coming weeks, unless there's some further obstruction on the part of the president, and there very well may be, more information that corroborates this and draws even more direct ties to policies and actions taken by the president.
You said just then peril may well be in store now for Trump. What could that peril look like?
Well, certainly for his family and for his closest advisors, even more than was already the case, they are all looking at the wrong end, we say, of a criminal prosecution. So they're in grave danger, and he is too. Once he leaves office, he may well be protected. It's not a certain. It's not as certainly established that a president can't be indicted criminally. But even if he is not, he could be charged afterwards. And this is an existential threat to his presidency as well. Even though he has only 2 years left, the Democrats have really been downplaying the growing public pressure among voters, among Democratic voters, to begin impeachment proceedings. Certainly they have the votes to do it very shortly in the House of Representatives when the new majority comes in, but they would face very long odds in the Senate of getting a conviction, and for that reason the House Democratic leaders haven't wanted to engage in what could be a diversionary tactic proceeding because there's so much other of great importance to take care of at the same time. But it raises the question, how much can be tolerated before an actual impeachment proceeding is conceded that it must take place? And I think we're approaching that line. This is really a case where the president has consistently been lying on materials very central to his campaign. He seems to be growing increasingly frantic. It is limiting his ability to credibly conduct foreign policy, and it is eroding his political ability at home as he's increasingly set upon because of his legal improprieties. So that is the peril of which I speak.
Lisann, legal analyst and former US federal prosecutor, thank you very much indeed.